So let's go ahead and take a look at how to access the Gogo shell. Now for me on Windows, there is a prerequisite that I need to do. I first need to enable the ability to actually telnet. Windows has it disabled automatically or by default. So first thing I'm going to do is enable it. Now if you already have telnet enabled, or if you have a telnet client, feel free to skip this part. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to my start menu and I'm going to type Windows features. I'm going to get this option to turn Windows features on or off. Now for you guys over in the Linux or the Unix world, right, not that big of a deal. So once your feature list shows up, we're going to scroll through and we're looking for Telnet. So you'll see Telnet client, and once you see it, go ahead and check the box, and then you'll click OK. Now Windows will do its thing to turn on our Telnet client, and then from here, go ahead and close the window. Now the prereq is all done, so let's go ahead and actually see how to telnet into the Gogo shell. Pretty simple. You can open up your command line, your shell. If you have a third-party telnet client like Putty, you can use that as well. As for me, I like to use PowerShell. I like to pretend I'm a Unix guy here in the Windows world. So first thing, after your telnet client is taken care of, you want to make sure that your Liferay server is started up. Otherwise, we don't have anything to telnet to. So the command here is telnet localhost, and then the port number by default is 11311. So telnet localhost 11311. And the port number is configurable within portalext.properties. You'll get the connect and then you're in. Now, before we go through some of the easy things, if you want to figure everything out on your own, you can. You can type help, and it gives you a list of all of the commands that you can type within the Gogo shell. Right? If you need help on a specific command, like help lb, let me bring this up. So help lb, for example, it gives you a brief description of what the command does. If you're familiar with the Unix world, you'll know man for manual as well. You can do man lb as well. So help, man, both of them work. Now, let's actually go ahead and type the lb command. So lb for list bundles, and we'll wait for my list to scroll through. It does take a little bit of time, and that's okay. So lb shows us a list of all of the bundles that are installed within the OSGI container. Now, as it scrolls through, we can talk a little bit about what we see here. So first part is on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side here, it shows the ID number that corresponds with the bundle. So if you wanted to do something with it, you would type the command followed by the bundle number. But we already got practice with that, right? We saw how we could start and stop modules. So very simple. But as we talked about, the Gogo shell allows for a lot of the cool stuff that we know in the Unix world, like piping. So you can do something like lb-s. -s is for the symbolic name. So list all of the bundles based off of its symbolic name. We're going to feed or pipe the results to grep to search for all of the bundles that have blogs within the symbolic name. Right, and it shows me all of the bundles with the symbolic name or with blogs as the symbolic name. Now, let's practice this. You may have just been able to do that. We see the results are the same. So whether you want to pipe or not into grep, it's up to you. You can do both. But again, a lot of us may be coming from the Unix world, Linux world, so we can do what we know already. So cool, very good. So we're able to see all of the bundles with blogs within the symbolic name. This becomes very useful, right? If we're looking for something specific. Now, moving on, there are a couple of other commands that can help us out. Again, one of our favorites here, dm for dependency manager, followed by wtf. Where's the failure? Right. So a little bit tongue-in-cheek there. So dmwtf will show you what's kind of wrong with specific modules or bundles. Specifically, if there is a dependency missing, what is it? Or why is something broken? Now, if you were to talk with me, my preference in commands is the dag command. Since everything is fine and dandy right now, dag is not too useful for the time being. But the dag command allows us to diagnose an issue with a specific bundle. Right? If we're missing a dependency, it'll let us know. So you can do dag followed by a specific bundle number, like maybe 358. And we see no issues. Everything is all good to go. So a couple different commands there. Another command that's very helpful is headers. Let's say, we want to take a look at what's the manifest file of our blog's web looks like. So I can type the command headers followed by 328. And feel free to do the same as well. Right, so if you want to get a little bit of practice here with these commands, right, you have all the power. Feel free to do so. Right, if you want to pause the video, fast forward, you have those options as well. So you can see this is a lot of stuff here. If you recall from Olaf's videos, if you watched them, this is a little bit hard for us to read. It's something that's more machine read rather than for our eyes. And you can see why he mentioned that. The required capability is, it is what it is. But if you look through and you scroll through, you can find some good information here. Again, it does take a little bit of digging to find out what is the bundle version number and the symbolic name. We already knew that. If we want to know what packages it was exporting, we would kind of have to scroll through to try to find it. Right, so it is a useful command, but it does require sharp eyes and a lot of attention to detail. Alternatively, if you wanted more of a synopsis of the bundle, you can type B, the letter B for bundle, followed by the number that corresponds with it. So again, a lot of info here, but this is the quote-unquote synopsis. It also shows us various components that it is registering, as well as components that are consuming what's being provided by this bundle. So again, a lot of information. It can be useful, but it does take a very keen eye to try to parse through a lot of this stuff. Okay. So headers is one command to look at the manifest file. The letter B is another one that can be used as well. So feel free to try this out on your own as well for any of the bundles that you've created so far, or maybe that's already deployed on your dev environment. Now let's move on. Let's talk about some other commands that we can use. Another fun one is scr followed by list. This is another one of those dangerous commands in the sense of it's just going to list a lot of stuff. So scr list is listing out all of the components that are registered within the service registry. So this might take a little bit of time, but again, we get the idea here. Now, if you want to look for a specific component within a bundle, you can use scr list followed by the bundle that you want to check out. Okay, this is also helpful as well if you want to look at the internals of a specific component. So even though this is scrolling through, you might notice that there's a number that corresponds with it. So you can use another command, scrinfo, to get some additional information about the component. So we'll see if we can expedite this or maybe fast forward it. Can I control C? Nope, I am stuck here waiting. So we'll wait for it. Right, so this is where I would probably tell a story, but now that it has finished scrolling through, let's go ahead and try that scrinfo, and let's pick a number, 888, pretty lucky number, and it gives us a little bit of information here. Its name, its implementation class, is it enabled, and kind of some other attributes of the component. So this is another useful tool when we are debugging our components. Sometimes we may deploy and we would see that the bundle is in the active state, but what we're trying to do is not working. And sometimes that could be in part due to something happening with the component. So we can get some additional information to try to figure out, is it really the component that's giving us issues, or is it something else? All right, so some other commands here. Sticking with the theme of blogs, another command that we can use is services. Right, so that was another dangerous enter there. But services is going to show us, well, just that, all of the registered services within the OSGI container. This was probably a command that I shouldn't have just typed and entered here, but most of the time we're going to use this to hone in on a specific service. And so when this finishes, we'll go ahead and type what's in the book. Right? So during this time, again, feel free to play around with it within the Gogo shell. Right? No harm, no foul within an isolated training environment if you are working on one. So massive list of services there. You can hone in specifically on a bundle. Okay, so services, if we use object class equals our bundle com Liferay blogs web, and then using the wildcard just to pick anything that's within that bundle, and it gives us a pretty extensive list here of all of the services registered within that bundle 328. So kind of cool as well. Another nifty debugging tool if, again, we want to further confirm whether or not our component is being registered. All right, let's play with a couple of other commands. So I'll type LB again for me. Lists a lot of different things. So we're going to use 328 in my example. I'm going to type inspect capability, or just cap service, and then 328. Right, this lists out in a little bit more detail the various capabilities of the services that we have here. Right, so a bunch of different commands that we can use within the Gogo shell and many more. So feel free to play with those and kind of do a little bit of investigation on your own.